The desert sun burned low, casting a fiery glow over the quiet cul-de-sac in Redstone, Arizona. The air was thick with the scent of sagebrush, and the only sound were the lazy chirps of sparrows and the distant hum of a sprinkler. But on the porch of 214 Cactus Lane, the world was about to shatter. Eleanor Grayson, 78 years old, blind since her 50s, lay crumpled against the splintered railing, blood trickling from a gash above her brow. Her pale green sweater, embroidered with daisies, was streaked with dust. Two men loomed over her, their black uniforms crisp, their faces hidden behind mirrored sunglasses. They called themselves HOA enforcement, but their voices carried no authority, only menace. Eleanor's frail hand reached for the air, searching for something to hold on to. "Why?" she whispered, her voice trembling but defiant. "Why would you do this?" One of the men, broad-shouldered with a buzz cut, sneered. "Non-compliance, lady. You were warned." The other, wiry and younger, shifted his weight, his hand twitching toward a canister on his belt. They hadn't noticed the front door creak open. They hadn't seen the shadow step into the sunlight. But the neighborhood would never forget what happened next. It had started like any other afternoon. Redstone was the kind of place where time seemed to pause. Kids rode bikes in lazy circles. Retirees tended to their xeriscaped yards, and the biggest drama was usually a misplaced garbage bin. Eleanor, known to everyone as Miss Ellie, spent her days on her porch, rocking gently in a chair her late husband had carved decades ago. Her clouded eyes couldn't see the world, but she felt it. The warmth of the sun, the rhythm of the gospel hymns drifting from her portable radio, the faint clink of her American flag pin tapping against her sweater. At 3 p.m., like clockwork, the station played How Great Thou Art, and Ellie would hum along, her voice soft but steady. Inside the house, her granddaughter, Lila, 17, was slicing lemons for iced tea. She glanced out the kitchen window when she heard the gravel crunch. A black SUV, no plates, windows tinted darker than night, rolled to a stop in front of the house. The engine cut off, and the silence that followed felt like a hell breath. Lila's stomach twisted. She set the knife down, her pulse quickening as two men stepped out. They wore tactical uniforms, black, stiff, with HOA enforcement unit emblazoned in white across their chests. No badges, no VY Cybele IDs, just earpieces, gloves, and a swagger that screamed trouble. Lila cracked the front door, staying half hidden behind it. The men didn't knock or call out. They marched straight onto the porch, their boots thudding against the wood. The taller one, his voice sharp as a blade, barked, "You're in violation of HOA Code 4.1, unauthorized porch decorations." Ellie tilted her head, her brow furrowing. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, her voice gentle but confused. "I don't understand. I'm blind. I haven't gotten any notices." The second man, his face lean and twitching, cut her off. "Chair's gotta go. Flag, too. And those damn planters. You were told." Ellie's hands tightened on the arms of her rocker. "No one told me anything," she said, firmer now. "This is my home." The taller man leaned closer, his shadow falling over her. "Maybe you'll get it this time," he growled. And then, without warning, he shoved her. It wasn't a nudge. It was a deliberate, vicious push, his gloved hand slamming into her shoulder. The chair skidded backward, teetering on the edge of the porch. Ellie's arms flailed, grasping at nothing as the rocker tipped. Her head struck the railing with a sickening thud, and she crumpled to the ground, her sweater catching on a nail. Blood bloomed across her forehead, stark against her pale skin. Lila screamed, the sound tearing from her throat as she bolted outside, her sneakers pounding the concrete. She dropped to her knees beside Ellie, her hands shaking as she touched her grandmother's face. "Miss Ellie, I'm here. I'm here," she whispered, her voice breaking. Ellie's breath hitched, her fingers twitching. "Lila, what?" The taller man stood over them, his face unreadable behind his sunglasses. "She resisted," he said coldly. "You resist, you pay." Lila's VY shone blurred with tears, but her rage burned hotter. "You pushed a blind woman," she shouted, her voice raw. The younger man took a step toward her, his hand now gripping the canister. "Back off, kid. Where you next?" That's when the air shifted. A slow, deliberate creak came from the front door. Footsteps followed, heavy, measured, unstoppable. Lila glanced back, her breath catching. Her uncle, Caleb Monroe, stepped into the light. He was 52, lean but solid, his faded Army Ranger jacket stretched across his shoulders. His face was calm, but his eyes gray and unyielding held a storm. Behind him padded Titan, his retired military K9, a German shepherd with scars on his muzzle and a gaze that could freeze blood. Titan's ears were up, his muscles coiled, his golden eyes locked on the two men. Caleb took in the scene. Ellie bleeding, Lila trembling, the strangers standing over them like predators. His jaw clenched, the only sign of the fury beneath his calm. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. "You put your hands on my mother," he said, his voice low, each word a blade. The taller man, unfazed, squared his shoulders. "This is HOA business, sir." "Step back." Caleb's gaze didn't waver. "There's no HOA in Redstone." The younger man shifted, his voice cracking. "We're subcontracted security. Article 6 of the Covenant." Caleb cut him off. "No badges. No IDs. No marked vehicle. You're trespassing. And you assaulted a blind woman." Titan growled, a deep rumble that VY brat through the porch. The taller man took an involuntary step back, his hand twitching toward his belt. "Control your dog," he snapped. Caleb's lips curved into something that wasn't a smile. "Titan's not the one you should be worried about." He glanced at the dog, his voice barely above a whisper. "Titan guard." The command was soft, but it unleashed hell. Titan lunged, not biting, but slamming into the taller man with the force of a linebacker. 90 pounds of trained muscle pinned him to the ground. Titan's teeth bared inches from his throat. The man froze, his sunglasses askew, his breath shallow. The younger man yelped, stumbling backward, his canister clattering to the porch. Caleb moved like lightning, grabbing the man's wrist and twisting until it popped. An elbow to the chest sent him gasping to his knees. "Move, and he bites," Caleb said, his voice steady as stone. Titan growled louder, his eyes never Leah VY in the pinned man's face. Lila, still cradling Ellie, fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking as she dialed 911. Neighbors began to gather, their whispers carrying across the street. "That's Miss Ellie." "Are they cops?" "That's Caleb, her son." "Holy hell, that dog." Phones were out, cameras rolling. Someone gasped. Another clapped, a single sharp sound that echoed like a gunshot. Caleb knelt beside the taller man, his voice calm but lethal. "Name." The man's lips trembled. Jack. Jack Carter." Caleb's eyes narrowed. "Full name." Titan leaned closer, his growl deepening. "Carter, Jack Carter. My ID's in the car, glove box, I swear." Caleb stood, turning to Lila. "Tell the sheriff we've got 2 impersonators. Assault on an elderly woman. Both detained." Lila nodded, her voice steadying as she spoke to the dispatcher. Caleb pulled zip ties from his pocket thick, military-grade, bound both men with precision. Ellie, propped against Lila, clutched her granddaughter's hand. Blood still trickled down her face, but her voice was stronger now. "Caleb, you didn't even raise your voice," she murmured, a faint smile breaking through her pain. Caleb glanced at her, his expression softening for the first time. "Didn't need to, Ma." The sheriff's cruisers arrived 10 minutes later, their sirens cutting through the desert stillness. 2 deputies stepped out, hands near their holsters, but they froze when they saw the scene. Titan standing over Carter, Caleb watching like a sentinel, Ellie being tended to by Lila. The older deputy, a grizzled man named Hargrove, approached cautiously. "Sir, you're not law enforcement," he said to Caleb. "No," Caleb replied, his voice even. "But I'm a citizen. These 2 committed a felony on my porch." Titan stopped it. "You're welcome." Hargrove glanced at Titan, who sat calmly now, his eyes still locked on Carter. The deputy took in Ellie's bloodied face, Lila's tear-streaked cheeks, the zip-tied men. "Names?" he asked. "Jack Carter and—" Caleb nudged the younger man with his boot. "Name?" The man coughed, his voice weak. "Evan. Evan Walsh." Caleb relayed the details with military precision. No credentials, fake uniforms, assault, trespassing. A neighbor stepped forward, handing Lila a flash drive. "It's all on VY she said. The push, the fall, everything. Hargrove re-VY-EU'd the footage on his cruiser's laptop. The moment Ellie's head hit the railing, he muttered, "Jesus." He looked at Caleb. "You want to press charges?" Caleb's answer was immediate. "Absolutely." The deputies cuffed Carter and Walsh, loading them into separate cruisers. Carter muttered about misunderstandings, but no one listened. Walsh stayed silent, his eyes darting nervously. Then came the SUV. Hargrove popped the trunk, and the air changed. Inside were stacks of fake HOA forms, violation notices, forged citations, clipboards with lists of non-compliant properties. A binder held photos of homes, elderly residents circled in red, labeled priority targets. One page had Ellie's address, her name underlined, blind. Lives with granddaughter. No security system. The neighbors, now a crowd, murmured in anger. They were hunting seniors, someone whispered. Extorting them. Scaring them. Caleb's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed low. "They picked the wrong house." Hargrove nodded. "Looks like a scam ring. We'll tear this apart." As the cruisers pulled away, the crowd erupted not in cheers, but in something deeper. Respect. Relief. Recognition that something righteous had just happened. Ellie was taken to the hospital for stitches and a fractured wrist. Lila stayed by her side, holding her hand as the doctors worked. Caleb and Titan waited outside, the dog lying at his feet, his eyes scanning the parking lot. When Ellie was released, she insisted on returning to her porch. "I'm not letting them take that from me," she said, her voice fierce despite her bandages. Neighbors brought flowers, casseroles, even a new cushion for her rocker. Someone carved a wooden sign, "Miss Ellie's Porch, where courage lives." The story didn't end there. The neighbor's VY hit social media that night, a 47-second clip of Ellie's fall, Titan's takedown, and Caleb's calm fury. It exploded Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, then local news, then CNN. The headline read, "Army vet and K-9 stop fake HOA thugs from attacking blind grandmother." By morning, it had 15 million VYUs. The sheriff's department impounded the SUV, uncovering more EVY Denke, voice recorders, fake badges, a ledger of cash fines collected from other VY Tims. Carter and Walsh weren't lone wolves, they were part of a predatory network targeting Arizona suburbs. Caleb gave one in her VYEW to a local reporter named Sarah Vega. He sat on the porch, Titan at his side, and kept it brief. "I don't want fame," he said. "I want my mom safe. And I want people to know you don't intimidate good folks and walk away." The clip went VY-RAL, shared by veterans, politicians, even celebrities. Titan became a sensation, America's bravest dog, with fan pages and T-shirts reading "Titan's Turf, HOA Free Zone." Proceeds went to a fund for elder abuse VY Tims. The investigation unraveled the scam. Carter and Walsh had hit 9 other neighborhoods, extorting thousands from seniors under threats of liens or EVY tie-in. Their ring included 6 others, all arrested within weeks. Charges piled up: impersonation, assault, elder abuse, extortion. At the trial, the judge's words were scathing. "You preyed on the vulnerable and cloaked your cowardice in fake authority." Carter got 7 years. Walsh, who turned state's EVY Denke, got 3 but was barred from security work for life. Redstone changed. Ellie's Porch became a symbol, a place where neighbors left notes of gratitude or small gifts, a wind chime, a potted cactus. Every evening, Ellie sat in her rocker, Titan at her side, her radio playing hymns. Kids VY cited to pet the dog, who greeted them with a slow wag and a gentle nudge. Lila, now prouder than ever, started a community watch program, training neighbors to spot scams. One night, over dinner, Lila asked Caleb, "How do you stay so calm? How do you know what to do?" He paused, his fork halfway to his mouth. "You train for chaos so you don't freeze in it," he said. "And Titan." Caleb's eyes softened. "Titan's my brother in arms. He knows right from wrong better than most people." Ellie reached for his hand. "You saved me, Caleb." He shook his head. "No, Ma. You raised me to stand up. That's what saved us all." A month later, the neighborhood held a quiet ceremony. They unveiled a bench by Ellie's porch, engraved with a brass plate, for Eleanor Grayson, Caleb Monroe, and Titan, guardians of Redstone. Below, in smaller letters, she was blind, but she saw justice first. Caleb didn't speak, just rested his hand on Titan's head. But everyone knew. Without that moment, that choice, the story could have ended in silence. This wasn't about violence or vengeance. It was about lines drawn in the sand, about what happens when predators mistake kindness for weakness. Ellie didn't need revenge, she got justice. And the world got a reminder. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's a whisper, a growl, a single command. The VY Ral VY Deo's final frame said it all. Titan on the porch, Ellie in her rocker, and text across the screen. They thought she was alone. They were wrong. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.